कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्।
वदनं मधुरं नयनं मधुरं हसितं मधुरं हृदयं मधुरं गमनं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
वचनं मधुरं चरितं मधुरं वसनं मधुरं वलितं मधुरं चलितं मधुरं भ्रमितं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
पाणिर्मधुरः पादौ मधुरौ नृत्यं मधुरं सख्यं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
मधुरं पीतं मधुरं भुक्तं मधुरं सुप्तं मधुरं रूपं मधुरं तिलकं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
तरणं मधुरं हरणं मधुरं स्मरणं मधुरं वमितं मधुरं शमितं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
माला मधुरा यमुना मधुरा वीची मधुरा सलिलं मधुरं कमलं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
लीला मधुरा युक्तं मधुरं मुक्तं मधुरं दृष्टं मधुरं शिष्टं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
मधुरा सृष्टिर्मधुरा दलितं मधुरं फलितं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। संग्राममय जीवन धरा पर विजय रथ ले हम चले। सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। हो समर्पण लखन जैसा राम जैसा त्याग हो। भीष्म सा हो नियम पालन शौर्य में अभिमन्यु हो। आपदाओं को कुचल कर वीर बालक हम चले। सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। बुद्ध जैसे कारुणिक हो धीर हम महावीर से। ध्रुव जैसे निश्चयी सत्याग्रही प्रहलाद से। दुर्दम्य सारे संकटों में अग्निपथ पर भीख ले। सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। हनुमान से सेवाव्रती जिज्ञासु हो नचिकेत से। कर्मयोगी कृष्ण जैसे वीर हो हम पार्थ से। बलिदान गोविंद सिंह सहो साथ सारा ही चले। सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। देशभक्ति हो शासन प्रेम हो गौरांग सा। स्वाभिमान प्रताप सा हो तेज झांसी वाली सा। जलते शहीदों की चिता से हृदय में अंगार ले। सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। संग्राममय जीवन धरा पर विजय रथ ले हम चले। सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। ध्येय ज्योति नित जले। ध्येय ज्योति नित जले।
अधरं मधुरं वदनं मधुरं नयनं मधुरं हसितं मधुरं हृदयं मधुरं गमनं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
चरितं मधुरं वसनं मधुरं वलितं मधुरं चलितं मधुरं भ्रमितं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
रेणुर्मधुरो रेणुर्मधुरः पाणिर्मधुरः पादौ मधुरौ नृत्यं मधुरं सख्यं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
गीतं मधुरं पीतं मधुरं भुक्तं मधुरं सुप्तं मधुरं रूपं मधुरं तिलकं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
तरणं मधुरं तरणं मधुरं हरणं मधुरं स्मरणं मधुरं वमितं मधुरं शमितं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
कुञ्जा मधुरा माला मधुरा यमुना मधुरा वीची मधुरा सलिलं मधुरं कमलं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
गोपी मधुरा लीला मधुरा युक्तं मधुरं मुक्तं मधुरं दृष्टं मधुरं शिष्टं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
गोपा मधुरा गावो मधुरा यष्टिर्मधुरा सृष्टिर्मधुरा दलितं मधुरं फलितं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
सद्गुणों की साधना में ध्येय जो
वदनं मधुरं नयनं मधुरं हसितं मधुरं हृदयं मधुरं गमनं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
वचनं मधुरं चरितं मधुरं वसनं मधुरं वलितं मधुरं चलितं मधुरं भ्रमितं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपतेरखिलं मधुरम्
पाणिर्मधुरः पादौ मधुरौ नृत्यं मधुरं सख्यं मधुरम्
मधुराधिपते
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मनु मुकुरु सुधारी बरनउ रघुबर विमल जसु जोदायकु फलचारी बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेस विकार जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीसति लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन बरन विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे कांधे मूज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुबीर हरषि उर लाए रघुपति कीनी बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरतई सम भाई सहस बदन तुम रोजस गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा जम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सकै कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीन्हा तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर है सब जग जाना जुग सहस्र जो जन पर भानु लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानू प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माही जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज सम्हारो आपे तीनों लोक हांकते कांपे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासै रोग हरै सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों जुग पर ताप तुम्हारा है, पर सिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्त न धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजय नाथ हृदय महडेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरना, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय।
Now, it's not just about learning the Gita, it's also about playing with the Gita. On the auspicious occasion of Gita Jayanti, the Gita Jayanti Olympiad has been launched by Gita Pariwar. This Olympiad is open to everyone and participation is completely free of cost. The Olympiad includes 5 weeks and 5 special rounds, where each round combines learning with play. And finally, there is the grand finale, a magnificent live competition. For every activity, you will earn credits, and these credits will help you move up the leaderboard. Along with the joy of playing, there are prizes worth rupees 1 lakh, certificates, and special recognitions. So come, don't just read the Gita, live it, play with it, and celebrate it. Register now at play.learngeeta.com.
Jai Shri Krishna. In Zoom meeting, if you want to turn off the notification of Zoom chats, then click on the chats and then click on these 3 dots. Turn off notifications, click on that. Click on the mute option, and now chats notification will not disturb you. Jai Shri Krishna.
योगेशम् सच्चिदानन्दम् वासुदेवम् व्रजप्रियम् धर्मसंस्थापकम् वीरम्।
Jai Shri Krishna and a very warm welcome to everyone present. I, Parinita Gupta, take pride in representing Gita Parivar and inviting you all for a Zoom session of Gita interpretation. I start with my head bowed down to the lotus feet of Purushottam Bhagwan Shri Krishna and Param Pujya Swami Govind Dev Giriji Maharaj, who is always guiding us. Chapter 18 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, serves as the final comprehensive summary of the entire scripture. It teaches us that true renunciation, tyaga, is not abandoning action, but rather relinquishing attachment to the fruits of action. It emphasizes performing one's prescribed duty Swadharma as an offering to the divine, navigating life's gunas and culminating in total surrender to Krishna for ultimate liberation. But before starting the session, let's quickly bless up some Zoom guidelines. If you have no sound, then you plug in the headphones or increase the volume of your phone or computer. If the chat box is blinking continuously, then you tap the bell icon at the right corner to mute the notifications. If the voice is breaking or cutting, check your internet connection. If possible, use Wi Fi instead of mobile data. If the screen is not visible, click on Start Video on Zoom. And if the screen is blurry, this happens due to slow internet, then try connecting your network connection. If the Zoom keeps on disconnecting, you can watch this session via the YouTube link. And if the Zoom suddenly closes, you can rejoin with the meeting link. Now we shall begin our session with the prayer, the invocation of the divine, for which I would like to invite Falguni Dwivedi ji, who is from Mumbai and is currently teaching kids in an NGO. Didi has also worked in an R&D department at NDDG and is an avid reader. Falguni Didi has joined Gita Pariwar in March 2024 and is serving as a TAGC monitoring, and we will also see her in GC faculty message translation team shortly. Academically, she holds an MSc and BA degree and has also completed her YCC and YTTC training. Didi, kindly do the prayer.
जय श्री कृष्ण थैंक यू दीदी
Yes,
वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं श्रीकृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं जय श्री कृष्ण दीदी जय श्री कृष्ण सर्वेने
thank you so much, Didi, for the divine invocation. Now we shall go ahead with the deep Prajwalan to kindle light to guide us in our journey, for which I would like to invite B. Renukaji, who is from Thimmapuram and is a government employee. She is an MTech graduate. Didi has joined Gita Parivar in June 2024 and has served as a GC for level 1 and level 2 batches. Didi is also currently serving as a GC for level 2 batch. Didi, kindly do the Deepak Prajwalan.
निषिद्धैरप्येभिर्लुलितमकरन्दो मधुकरैः करैरिन्दोरन्तश्छुरित इव सम्भिन्नमुकुलः विधत्तां सिद्धिन्नो नयनसुभगामस्य सदसः प्रकीर्णः पुष्पाणां हरिचरणयोरञ्जलिरयम् शरदिन्दुनिभां शुभ्रवस्त्रैरलङ्कृताम् कलहंसकृतावासाम् वरदां शारदां नुमः.
Thank you so much, Didi, for taking us to the divine and beautiful presence of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. As many of you know, as a part of the Gita Jayanti Mahotsav, the Gita Olympiad is currently underway. It has several engaging events, attractive prizes, and is open to everyone, completely free of cost. If you have not registered yet, you may do so at your convenience by visiting play.learngeeta.com. Additional details are also provided in your participants group, so please go check out and register. We are also delighted to inform that our 45th level 1 batch has started from 30th of January, but the registration is still on. For all of us being blessed to walk in this beautiful journey with Gita Parivar, This is a wonderful opportunity to invite our friends and family to experience the same joy and wisdom. Let us help spread the message far and wide so that many more speakers come closer to Gita Mata. Registration is simple and open at joingita.com. Now comes the time of the session we are eagerly waiting for. It is my pleasure and honor to invite our respected Vikas ji Vaidya Bhaiya, who holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a postgraduate diploma in business management. He lived as an NRI for 12 years, in which he traveled extensively across the world, and he owns a small IT company in Pune. Is based in Pune and is multilingual with proficiency in Hindi, English, Marathi, Indonesian, Malaysian, and Spanish language. For the past 5 years, Bhaiya has been reciting all the 18 adhyayas of Srimad Bhagavad Gita daily. He serves as a trainer in Gita Pariwar from L1 to L4. He also serves as a trainer in Gita Pariwar and is actively involved in trainer selection and trainer training. He is also engaged in teaching and vivechan of Vishnu Sahasranam as a member of Pune Gita Parivar. Bhaiya also guides Gita Vratis in their preparation for Shrungeri Peeth Gita examination. He has also appeared for Gita Kanthastikaran examination in Gita Shrungeri Peeth and was awarded the first prize by Param Pujya Jagat Guru Sankaracharya. Over to you, Bhaiya. Please guide us with the 18th chapter.
वसुदेवसुदं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् जय श्री कृष्ण टू ऑल. पूज्य स्वामी जी के चरण कमलों में कोटि कोटि नमन. We are discussing Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, the 18th Adhyaya Bhagavad Gita, the concluding chapter of Gita, giving a summary of all the earlier adhyayas from 1 to 17. Last time we discussed up to slok number 23. 23rd slok was नियतं सङ्गरहितं रागद्वेषतः कृतम् अफलप्रेप्सुना कर्म यत्तत् सात्विकमुच्यते. So sattvic karma that we discussed last time. But as we discussed last time also that we should start the session with an inspiring story to bring us in the proper spiritual frame of mind. So here goes the story of this week to start the session. How much faith do we have in ourselves and in God? A businessman, he boarded his flight at the last moment. He was traveling for some official work. Arriving at his seat, he greeted the co-passengers around him with a smile on his face. A middle-aged woman was sitting at the window and a little girl was sitting on the aisle seat. After stowing his bag above, he took his place between the both of them, that elderly woman and this little girl. After the flight took off, he began conversation with the little girl. She appeared to be about the same age as his daughter and was busy in coloring the book that she had in her hands. He asked her a few usual questions. What is your age? What are your hobbies? So he got the answer that her age was 8 years and her hobbies were cartoons and drawing, as well as her favorite animal was horses. She thought horses are pretty, but she loved the cats more than the horses. He found it strange that such a young girl was traveling alone. Nobody is with her. But he kept his thoughts to himself. And he was trying again and again to make sure that the little girl did not face any kind of trouble. About an hour into the flight, the plane suddenly began experiencing extreme turbulence. The pilot came over the public at a PA system in the aircraft, and he told everyone to fasten the seat belts and remain calm as they had encountered a rough weather. For the next half an hour, the plane shook several times, very sharply, and also went up and down several times. Some passengers were crying after experiencing this heavy turbulence. While some passengers were praying in their hearts, "Oh God, save us, oh God, save us." There was a total ruckus all around. The man was also sweating and clenching his seat as tightly as he could. He was also scared. And he explained, "Oh my God," with each increasingly violent shake of the plane. Meanwhile, the little girl was sitting quietly beside him in her seat. Her coloring book and crayon were put away neatly in the seat pocket in the front of her, and her hands were calmly resting on her legs. Incredibly, she did not seem worried at all. After experiencing this turbulence for some time, the plane was now completely calm. After half an hour or so, the pilot came on the public radio system after a few minutes later to apologize for the bumpy ride and announced that they would be landing soon. As the plane began to descend, the man asked the little girl, "You are just a little girl, but I have never met a braver person than you in my life." When all the passengers were so upset with the turbulence, you were sitting very calmly. I still don't understand how you were so calm even though you are so young. While all of us, all the adults, were so scared during all the moments in the plane, but you were not scared at all. The girl, looking into the eyes of that man, she replied with a smile on her face, "No, I was not scared because my father is the pilot. He is in control of this plane and he is taking me home. So why should I worry? He has promised me he is taking me home." The man was astonished at girl's response. The confidence in her words and the confidence she had in her eyes about her father, that my father will definitely take me home safe. Why should I worry? Why should I get disturbed? The voice from within made him a question. Do I have this much faith in myself and in my God who has given birth to me? As the one of the old statements says, faith can move the mountains. Shraddha can move the mountains. In a spiritual system, meditation is connecting with the self and going within oneself, that meditation. And as a result, with time and practice, we develop the real faith in ourselves and in our inner voice. Such a faith can indeed move mountains. Have faith in yourself is the message of this story. True faith is really an unshakable virtue. It is the dauntless courage that leads us onto the success. It is the force that makes our path very smooth. So, having brought God in our thoughts now, let us start the session. Last time we discussed, as I said, up to Slok 23, explain about the Sattvic karma. Now, what is Rajasic karma? Next Shloka. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate baulaya santadraj samudaratam. That action which is performed by one desiring results or performed with ego and which involves great efforts and strain is declared to be Rajasic karma, Rajasic action. As we are discussing in this adhyay about action governed by three gunas, Sat, Prajotamo, this shloka describes the Rajasic karma under the influence of Rajaguna, the kind of action driven by ego, desire, and restless ambition. These are the hallmarks of Rajas. The keywords in this shloka are kama, desire, ahankar, ego, and bahula, ayasa, many efforts, strength. So these together define the nature of Rajasic karma. Rajasic action is not wrong in itself. It often produces visible results, success, and also achievements. However, the inner motive behind such actions is a problem. When a person acts mainly to fulfill his personal desires, such as wealth, power, fame, recognition, or superiority, the action becomes Rajasic. The focus is not on duty or on righteousness, but on what will I gain from this karma? What will I gain from this? So another defining feature is ego. The doer strongly identifies with action and also its outcome. I am the doer. Kartrutva Bhivan. I am the doer. The success belongs to me. Others must acknowledge my greatness. Such ego-driven action binds the individual because success inflates the pride, while failure causes frustration, anger, and sometimes depression. Shri Krishna Bhagavan also points out that Rajasic action involves great strain and restlessness. The mind is constantly anxious about results. That's why it is restless. There is pressure, competition, comparison, and fear of loss. Even when success is achieved, the peace does not follow because new desires immediately arise. Prop up. ये तो हो गया, अभी what else can I get? This rajasic action leads to exhaustion rather than fulfillment. Importantly, Shri Krishna is not condemning hard work. The issue is not effort, but attachment. When effort is fueled by craving and by ego, it drains inner energy. When effort is guided by duty and surrender, it uplifts the soul. In daily life, rajasic action is very common. It is seen when people work only for promotion or for status, perform charity for publicity, follow religion for personal gains, complete obsessively, unable to take rest, feel disturbed by others' success and our own failure. Such action keeps the mind agitated and strengthens the bondage to karma. Through this shloka, Sri Krishna gently warns that while Rajasic action may bring temporary rewards, it cannot bring lasting peace or liberation, moksha mukti. It keeps the soul entangled in the cycle of desire, action, and result. The spiritual lesson is to transform Rajasic action into Sattvic action by reducing ego and by surrendering results to the God and performing one's duty as an offering rather than a transaction. I do this, you give me this. No transaction, but as an offering to the God. So this shloka teaches us that the quality of our action is determined not by what we do, but by why and how we do it. True spiritual growth begins when action is freed from selfish desire and from ego, the kartatva bhiman. I am the doer. So in summary, the nature of Rajoguna is that it creates intense desire for materialistic enhancement and sensual enjoyment. So action in the mode of passion is motivated by huge ambition and characterized by intense efforts. It entails heavy toil and great physical and mental fatigue. An example of Rajasic action is the corporate world of today. Management executives, they complain of stress. This is because their actions are usually motivated by pride and inordinate ambition for power, for prestige, and for wealth. The efforts of political leaders, over anxious parents, and business people are often typical examples in today's life who are acting in the mode of passion, Rajasic karma. Now, what is tamasic karma? Anubandham kshayam himsa manavekshaja paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yattat tamasamuchyate. This is tamasic karma. That action which is undertaken out of delusion, mohat, without regard for consequences, loss, harm, etc., or one's own capacity, is declared to be tamasic. So Lord Shri Krishna has classified action, karma, into three categories: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, based on the qualities, gunas, that dominate the mind. In this slok, he is defining what is tamasic karma, tamasic action, the lowest and most destructive form of karma. A tamasic action is one that is initiated from moha, delusion. Delusion here means ignorance of reality, acting without clarity, awareness, or understanding. That is moha. Such an action is not guided by wisdom, not by duty, or even personal gains, but by confusion, inertia, blind emotions, or intoxication of the mind. Shri Krishna highlights four key neglects that characterize tamasic karma. Anubandham. Anubandham is the consequences. The person does not consider the long-term results of his karma, his actions. There is no thought about what will follow as a result of his karma, what will follow socially, morally, psychologically, or spiritually. The action is impulsive and short-sighted. So that is Anubandham. Next, Kshayam, loss or damage. There is no concern for potential loss, loss of reputation, loss of health, loss of relationships, loss of resources, or loss of inner peace. The individual acts as if the consequences do not apply to him. He doesn't bother about it. Himsa. Third is himsa, harm. Harm to others or even to oneself is ignored during tamasic karma. The action may involve cruelty, violence, deceit, or emotional injury, yet the doer remains indifferent or unaware of his karma and the result of his tamasic karma. Paurusham. Paurusham is one's capacity. Am I capable of doing all this? Do I have the required capacity to do this? He doesn't bother about it also. The person does not assess whether they are capable of performing such actions properly. Acting beyond one's physical, mental, and moral capacity often leads to failure and destruction. But a person performing tamasic karma, he doesn't bother about all this. Such actions are driven by laziness, by anger, by intoxication, fanatism, despair, or blind attachment. So the actions being taken by one of the religions in the world, fanatism, blind attachment, despair, they come in this category of tamasic karmas. Which is that? Let's not go into details of that. A tamasic person may say, I don't care what happens. I don't care. Let it be whatever it happens. This attitude reflects a deep disconnection from responsibility. Importantly, Shri Krishna is not condemning action itself, but the absence of awareness behind such action. Even a seemingly small action can become tamasic if done recklessly, while a difficult action can be noble if done with clarity and responsibility. In practical life, tamasic action appears as acting in rage without thinking, engaging in violence or addiction, making decisions under intoxication, neglecting duties out of apathy, hurting others without remorse. These are tamasic actions. From a spiritual standpoint, tamasic action binds the soul strongly because it reinforces ignorance and suffering. It neither purifies the mind nor leads to growth. Shri Krishna's deeper message is a call for awareness before action. Awareness before action. Before acting, one must pause and ask to himself, do I understand this karma? Do I understand this action? Do I know the consequences of this action? Will it cause harm? Am I capable of doing it rightly? When these questions are ignored and actions descends into tamas and becomes a cause of bondage rather than liberation. Our objective is to gain liberation, but this tamasic karma, it will lead us to bondage only. The intellect of those tamoguna are covered by fog of ignorance. They are oblivious to what is right and what is wrong and are only interested in themselves and their self-interest. They pay no heed to the money or the resources at hand or even to the hardship incurred by others. Such work brings harm to them and to others as well. Shri Krishna uses the word kshaya. Kshaya means decay. Tamasic action cause decay of one's health, vitality. It is a waste of efforts. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of resources as well. Typical examples are gambling, stealing, corruption, drinking, and other papakarmas. Now, having discussed sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic karma, now is the time to discuss an anecdote. What is sattvic karma, what is rajasic karma, and what is tamasic karma? Once, a king decided to build a beautiful garden in his palace courtyard. He called three gardeners. Let us name them Suresh, Ramesh, and Mahesh. Suresh, Ramesh, and Mahesh. And gave each of them a plot of land, seeds, and the tools to develop their own garden. He said, in 1 month, I will come and see how you have cared for your garden. First, Mahesh, the tamasic gardener. Mahesh was lazy and careless. What is the use of hard work? He thought. What is the use of hard work? Anyway, who knows if the king will even come to see the garden or not? Does he have the time to come and see the garden? He threw the seeds on the ground without plowing and forgot to water them, spent his days sleeping under a tree. When the king returned, Mahesh's patch of that land was full of weeds and dry soil. He blamed the rain. I did my efforts, but rain did not fall. The sun did not show up. And even the seeds, he said, nothing grows here. It is not my fault. The seeds were also bad. This is tamasic karma. Action without proper understanding, proper care, and proper responsibility. It is lazy, careless, and destructive. The doer acts in delusion without thinking of duty or the consequences. Second gardener was Ramesh. Ramesh worked very hard. Every morning, he ran to the garden, he watered the plants, and constantly looked at other people's plots also. He thought, I must have the most beautiful garden, so the king will reward me. He compared, he competed, and he grew restless. He wanted praise, he wanted recognition, and he wanted personal gains of his karma. His garden looked impressive, but he was never at peace. When the king came, Ramesh stood proudly and said, look, king, my garden is the best. I deserve the reward from you. The king smiled, but saw the pride in his heart, Ramesh's heart. This is Rajasic karma. Action done with desire. Action done with attachment to the results. The doer seeks success all the time. If he seeks fame or reward, it brings tension. And it may bring temporary satisfaction, but never the inner peace. The third gardener, Suresh, he was the Sattvic gardener. Suresh, he bowed down, beginning his work. He thought, this garden belongs to the king. I am not the owner of this garden. This garden belongs to the king. My job is to serve and nurture it. Very clear. Every day he worked quietly, watering, cleaning, caring for the plants with love and devotion. He did not compete with anyone. He did not worry about rewards. When tired, he would rest under the trees and thank the Lord for giving him work that brought joy to him. After a month, when the king arrived, Suresh's garden was blooming with fresh flowers and fruits. The fragrance spread across the courtyard. When king praised him, Suresh humbly said, Maharaj, it is your grace. I only did my duty. The king was deeply pleased and he said, this is true service. Action without ego for the good of all. This is Sattvic karma. This is Sattvic karma. Action done without attachment, with a pure heart and for the welfare of others. It is guided by dharma, righteousness, performed as an offering to the God and brings peace and fulfillment. Moral of this short story is tamasic karma, it is done in ignorance, laziness, and carelessness. It harms oneself and it harms others also. Rajasic karma, done with desire, done with greed and ego. It binds the doer with stress and restlessness. And sattvic karma, done selflessly, without desire for the results, it purifies the heart and leads to peace and liberation. The parallel of this is this life that we are living is a garden. Our life is a garden. When we act without thought, that is tamas, weeds of ignorance will grow. When we act with selfishness, selfish ambitions, that is rajas, the flowers bloom, but soon they will fade. When we act with love and surrender, that is sattva, our inner garden blossoms eternally, not temporarily, eternally. So Krishna's core teaching of this sloka is Shri Krishna does not ask to stop acting, to stop karma, but to transform the quality of our action. Change the quality of our action. Progress on spiritual path means rising from tamas to rajas and from rajas to sattvic and finally transcending to all the three through self-knowledge. We have to become gunatit, not get bondage even with sattvic. Action performed with awareness, it becomes a worship. Action without awareness results in bondage. So this is a clear concept. If you take action with awareness, it can become worship. But if you take action in ignorance without awareness, you can create bondage for yourself. Okay, next loka now, 26th. Mukta sango naham vadi dhrutyusaha samanvitaha siddha siddhor nirvikarah karta sattvika uchyate. One who is free from attachment, mukta sangha, who does not boast, anahamvadi, who is endowed with determination and enthusiasm, dhrutyusaha samanvitaha, and who remains unaffected by success or failure, siddha siddhor nirvikara, such a doer is to said to be sattvic, karta sattvika uchyate. Now in this adhyaya, Shri Krishna is teaching the Bhagavad Gita by classifying human behavior according to three gunas, sattva, rajo, tamo. In this sloka, Shri Krishna Bhagavan described the sattvic karta, the doer, sattvic doer, the ideal worker who performs action in the spirit of wisdom and selflessness. The first quality mentioned here is freedom from attachment, mukta sangha. Mukta sangha is freedom from attachment. A sattvic doer performs his duty without clinging to the action or its results. He does not identify his ego with the work he performs. This does not mean he is careless or indifferent. Rather, he works sincerely but without possessiveness. Such detachment brings inner peace and protects the mind from anxiety, from disappointment, and from pride. The second quality is absence of ego and self-praise, anahambadi. A sattvic person does not boast. He does not seek applause or crave recognition. He does not constantly say, I did this and I achieved that. He understands that his abilities are the gifts of the divine and that success is the result of many factors. Adhishtananta karta karnija pradugdam vividashtapatak cheshta daimai chevatra panchavam. He remembers this. And it is beyond individual control. This humility keeps the ego in check and allows wisdom to grow. Next, Shri Krishna highlights steadfast determination and enthusiasm. Dhrityus sahasa manvitaha. A sattvic doer is energetic, committed, and persistent. He does not abandon his duty because due to fear or due to laziness or temporary obstacles. His enthusiasm is calm and steady, not restless or impulsive. His determination arises from inner conviction and not from desire for rewards. Another crucial trait is the equanimity in success and failure. Siddha Siddhor Nirvikar. A Sattvic doer remains emotionally balanced whether he succeeds or whether he fails. It is the frame of mind he has prepared himself before he starts the karma to remain equipoised in success or in failure. Siddha Siddhyor Nirvikar. Success does not inflate his ego and failure does not depress him. He accepts both as outcomes governed by divine law and continues his work with same sincerity. This mental balance is a sign of inner maturity and spiritual strength. Shri Krishna concludes by affirming that such a person is truly sattvic, karta sattviko uchyate. This shloka teaches that the purity of action is determined not by the nature of work but by the state of mind of the doer. For even ordinary duties become sacred duties when performed with detachment, with humility, with perseverance, and with balance. So those who sit all day long turning the rosary beads, japmala, and justify their idleness by saying, we do this because we are sattvic, we are a sattvic disposition. By just having a mala in your hand, you don't become sattvic, honestly. But they are in reality camouflaging the inertia. They don't want to act. They don't do their karma. They find it easy to sit on an easy chair and do japamala. They don't do any karma. Sattvic person is jealous, full of not excitement but enthusiasm. Dhattu sahasmanvita. Moreover, his enthusiasm is coupled with patience, with courage, and with determination. And this is a wonderful combination. Determination. Such a sattvic person, even God is anxious to meet him. If you have these qualities, even God will be anxious to meet you. Patience, courage, and determination. A small story about this. What is easier? We are looking for him, or we do something when he comes and finds us? What is easy? We do something that he comes and finds us, or we go and look for him? What is easier? The king was walking on the terrace of his palace in the evening. Suddenly his eyes fell on a saint walking below in the marketplace. Now saints are saints. Whether they are in the marketplace or they are in the forest, they are lost in their own world. The king realized that the saint was walking in the bazaar, but he was full of joy, as if there was no one else except him in that market. There seemed to be neither anger nor hatred towards anyone on his face, in his eyes. The king was so pleased with this ease and joy of the saint that he became anxious to meet him immediately. And king is king. If he decides to do something, it has to happen immediately. So he ordered his servants, go and bring that saint here immediately. If he had himself come down from such a high place, it was possible that the saint would have gone so far up by that time. The servants could not think of anything, so they just threw a long rope from the top of the palace and dragged the saint up by trapping him in that rope. Within a few minutes, the saint was standing in front of the king. The king apologized to the saint for bringing in such a fashion by his servants. The saint simply forgave him and asked him, what was the haste, king, that you got me pulled up with a rope? What was the haste? The king said, I suddenly became so restless to find an answer to a question that I did not want you to lose. I did not want to lose you, which is why you had to suffer like this. Sorry for that. The saint smiled and said, such anxiousness, which means it is a rare and deep question. Tell me what is the question. Tell me what is the question. The king said, the question is how to find the Lord, God, soon. I feel you alone can give me a satisfying answer. Please show me the way. How to find the God soon. The saint said, Your Majesty, you know the answer to this question very well. You are just unable to understand your own thoughts. Widen your perspective and think big. You will get the answer within a moment without my explaining anything. The king said, if I really knew the answer to this question, why would I have been so upset? And how could I have caused you such a trouble that to bring you by rope? I'm bewildered. You are a saint. You show everyone the right path. So why don't you show me also the right path? How to see the God? How to realize the God? The king was almost pleading, and the saint was listening silently as if he had no pity for him. After keeping silent for some time, the saint said, listen to the answer to your confusion now. Okay, I give the answer. So it would have been very difficult for me to come and meet you if I had that thought in mind to come and meet you. So many obstacles. But when the thought of meeting me came in your mind so strongly, think how did it happen so quickly? And we met quickly. You tried your best for me to be presented before you. Within moments, I was in front of you. The result was that you got me in front of you within few moments. If I had thought of coming to you on my own, it would have taken me days and days. But for you, when you decided, you got me in front of you within moments. King, similarly. Similarly, if the Lord is anxious to find someone, then the Lord will immediately appear before him. The king instantly asked, but how and why would the Lord be willing to meet us? The idea of meeting us, why it would come to the God's mind? The saint smiled and he said, how did you get the idea of meeting me? The king said, when I saw that you were walking in your own tune and you were not paying any attention to the road, to the market, to the shops, to the houses, or to the human beings walking on the street, I was so impressed that I thought of meeting you immediately. The saint said, this is the only way to attain the God. Dear king, you got the answer now. In the same way, align yourself to God being your single objective. Do not look at anyone else. If you cannot live without him, then the Lord will also become anxious to meet you. And he will come to meet you immediately. The saint had explained such a deep secret in such simple words. Shri Krishna Bhagavan says, the one who is free from attachment, free from ego, full of fortitude and enthusiasm, actions happen effortlessly through such a person. However, remember that it is not necessary that every time all actions of such person will be successful only. But when faced with failure, such a person is not dejected. Siddha Siddho Nirvikara. Neither success make him jump in joy, nor does failure make him distressed or despondent. So such a person, such a performer of actions who stays equanimous in success and failure is known as Sattvic Karta, Sattvic doer of karma. In practical life, this shloka encourages us to work honestly, give our best effort, remain humble, and accept results gracefully. Such an approach leads not only to efficiency in our action, but also to inner freedom and spiritual growth. The Sattvic doer becomes an instrument of harmony, both within himself and in the world around him. So the Bhagavad Gita does not ask us to do something different. The karma that we do in our day-to-day life, Gita says, continue that. It is only changing our attitude towards doing that karma. So every karma that we are performing earlier, were Rajasic or Tamasic, Gita paves a way for us to show that same karma can be done in a sattvic manner, which will lead you to liberation. So this is the path we need to learn from Gita, that karma, Gita does not hate karma, the attitude behind doing the karma. Okay, next. Now what is Rajasic Artha? Next sloka. Ragi karma phala prepsur lubdo hinsatmako shuchihi harshashoganvidah karta rajasah parikirtitaha. A doer who is attached to the results, who is greedy, violent, impure, and who experiences joy and sorrow intensely is said to be a Rajasic doer. So this shloka specifically focuses on the Rajasic doer, the person whose actions are driven by passion and by attachment. A Rajasic doer is deeply attached to the fruits of action. Such a person does not work simply because the work is right or necessary. Instead, they constantly think, what will I gain from this? Success becomes a source of pride for them, source of excitement for them, while failure leads them to frustration, to anger, or to despair. This attachment makes the mind restless and unstable. Shri Krishna says the Rajasic doer is greedy, lubdha. Greed here does not only mean desire for money, but also craving for power, for recognition, for praise, for status, or for control. All are greed. Even after achieving something, the Rajasic person feels unsatisfied and immediately wants more. This endless hunger prevents inner peace. The shloka also mentions violence, himsatmakaha. This violence may be physical, or may be verbal, or may be mental. A Rajasic doer may harm others knowingly or unknowingly to achieve his personal goals. Even harsh speech, manipulation, or emotional exploitation falls under the category of himsa. When passion dominates, compassion weakens, himsa rises. Krishna further describes such a person as ashuchi, impure. Impurity here refers mainly to inner impurity, not the body impurity, but inner impurity. Unclean motives is impurity. Selfish intentions is impurity. Jealousy is impurity. And ego-driven actions is impurity. Ashuchi. Outward rituals or appearances cannot purify the actions that arise from selfish desire. Another key trait is mentioned here, overwhelmed by joy and sorrow. Harsha Shoka Anvitaha. The Rajasic doer swings between emotional extremes, Harsha and Shok. Praise brings excitement, criticism brings depression. Life becomes a roller coaster for him because happiness depends entirely on external outcomes. This shloka teaches that Rajasic action binds a person to sufferings, even if action appears successful. Though such persons, such people may be energetic, may be ambitious, may be hardworking, their inner life remains disturbed at all times. Passion pushes them forward, but attachment chains them down. Two women meet up. Two women, they met up after a long time. And as friends normally do, they started inquiring about each other's families. Tum kaisi ho behna, tum kaise ho behna, like that. On inquiring on how her sick brother was, the other started crying. The poor chap is no more. Oh, how much we miss him. Such a lovely person he was. How we despair for his death. She wailed very loudly, very heartbrokenly. After consoling her, the friend then inquired about the lady's husband. ठीक है भाई आपका गया बहुत बुरा हुआ, but how is your husband? Promptly, like a magic, her expressions changed, and with a wide beaming smile on her face, she replied, he is doing very well. He is doing very well. He has been promoted recently, and things got no better than this, what he has got now in his life. She said with a great joy on her face. A moment ago, she was disconsolate, and a moment later, she is so cheerful. Such a melodrama. And this is how very oscillating a Rajasic person mind is. Harsha Shokanvita. A young man's uncle, he was coming down from the US to pay him a visit. Over the phone, the uncle informed him that he was getting some latest gadgets, a latest laptop, a domestic robot, some designer's clothes, and an expensive watch for him. Now this fellow's joy knew no bounds. My uncle is bringing so much for me, great. He could barely contain the excitement. Then the finally uncle arrived. He brought along all the gifts that he had promised over the phone, so the chap welcomed his uncle with great gusto and enthusiasm. Aye, uncle, aye. But soon the uncle declared that he would return to US only after a year and wanted to spend 1 full year in India with his nephew. Well, what you can imagine, the nephew's whole world crashed. Uncle is going to stay with me for 1 year. My God. Why his uncle is not going back as soon as he's done it? Normally the guests stay for a week or 10 days. Why is going to stay here for 1 year? In a flash of second, the intense joy changed into intense grief. Rajasi. So Rajoguna is always a carrier of greed, and you cannot stay still when you are consumed by greed only. You are always on the move, restlessly hankering after this or that. Such that instead of eating what you have on your plate, a Rajoguna will eye what others have on their plate, wanting to see what others have. We also experience this, honestly. When we go to a restaurant for dinner or for lunch, when our plates are served, we look at the plate served on the adjoining table and then we see, oh, why did not I ask for that? This is Rajoguna mentality. So, while Sattvic Kartas are motivated by desire for spiritual growth, Rajasic Kartas are deeply ambitious for materialistic enhancement. They do not realize that everything here is temporary and will have to be left behind one day. Agitated with immoderate rag, that is attachment to mind and senses, they lack the purity of intentions. They are convinced that the pleasure sought is present in the worldly things only. Hence, never satisfied by what comes their way, they are lubdha. Lubdha means greedy for more and more. When they see some others succeeding or enjoying more than them, they become hinsatmakaha, enviously bent on injury. To fulfill their ends, they sometimes sacrifice morality and become ashuchi, impure. When their desires are fulfilled, they become elated, and when they are unsuccessful, they get dejected. In this way, their lives become harsha shokanvita, a mixture of delight and sorrow. For spiritual growth, Shri Krishna wants us to move beyond rajas. Action itself is not the problem. Attachment and ego are the problem. One who performs duty with dedication but without craving for results, offering actions as service, one gradually rises from Rajasi to Sattva and ultimately towards liberation, towards freedom. Now, what is Tamasi Karta? Slok 28. Ayukta Prakrutastabdha Shato Naishkritiko Lasaha Vishadi Dirga Sutri Cha Karta Tamasa Uchyate. An agent who is unsteady, crude, arrogant, deceitful, malicious, lazy, despondent, and procrastinating is called a tamasic doer, all bad things. Tamasic karta, tamasic doer, one whose actions are dominated by ignorance, darkness, and inertia. The first quality mentioned here is ayukta. Ayukta means unsteady or indisciplined. Such a person lacks inner control, clarity, and commitment. Their actions are inconsistent and impulsive, guided neither by reason nor by moral awareness. Prakruta means crude or unrefined. Prakruta indicates a person who is governed purely by base instincts only. There is little sensitivity, refinement, or awareness for higher values in their mind. Such a doer lives only for immediate gratification, ignoring long-term consequences. Next is stabdha, arrogant or obstinate. Stabdha. It refers to rigidity of ego. A tamasic person refuses to listen to others. He refuses to learn from others. He refuses to change. That is stabdha. Even when wrong, they remain stubborn, closing the door for growth and wisdom. Shatha. Next is shatha, deceitful, and naishkritika, malicious or harmful. They point to moral corruption. Such a doer manipulates others, lies without remorse, and may even enjoy causing harm. There is absence of consciousness and compassion in their mind, in their karma, in their actions. Alasya, laziness. This is a key tamasic trait, alas. The person avoids efforts, discipline, and responsibility. Even necessary duties feel burdensome for him, and work is postponed or abandoned altogether. Alas, laziness. Vishadi, despondent or pessimistic. It shows the mindset filled with negativity. A tamasic doer easily falls into despair, blames circumstances, lacks faith in himself or others or in future. Dirgha Sutri, procrastinating, means delaying actions endlessly. Even when a task is simple or urgent, such a person postpones it due to inertia, due to fear, due to laziness, or due to confusion. Some job which can be done within one day, he will keep pulling it on and on, procrastinating for over a month, and ultimately it may not be done also. So Dirgha Sutri, Shri Krishna concludes that a doer with such qualities is tamasic, acting from ignorance rather than awareness. Such actions lead to suffering, stagnation, bondage, both individually and socially. So, practical message for us is this shloka is not meant to condemn but to create self awareness. Each of us may carry tamasic tendencies at times. Yes, we do. At times we are lazy, we have negative thoughts in our mind, we try to avoid the work, tamasic. The purpose of Gita is to help us recognize this and gradually rise above tamas. So when such thoughts come to us, remember this shloka. Cultivating discipline, clarity, honesty, and responsibility is the teaching of Gita. By moving from tamasic to rajasic and ultimately to sattva, a person transforms their actions. Through action, transform the destiny. Action can transform your destiny from bondage to liberation. Next shloka 29th. बुद्धिर्वेदन्ति तश्चयो गुणदस्तिविदं शृणु प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय. Arjuna, Dhananjaya, now hear from me in detail the threefold division of intellect, buddhi, and steadfastness, dhruti. The firmness of intellect is dhruti, according to the three qualities of gunas, sattva, I shall explain them clearly and completely, asheshena, completely, without keeping anything shesh, anything balance, I will tell you in total completeness. So this shloka, Shri Krishna begins a very important teaching that helps us to understand why human beings think, decide and act so differently. Even when facing similar situations, different people act differently in the same situation. Why? He introduces the idea that both intellect, buddhi, and the willpower or determination, dhruti, are shaped by three gunas. Sattva, purity, rajas, activity, and tamas, inertia. This shloka acts as a gateway to the next few shlokas that are on the way. When Sri Krishna will explain each type of this in detail, what is sattvic buddhi, rajasic buddhi, tamasic buddhi. Here he sets the foundation by stating that not all intelligence is the same. बुद्धि है मतलब सब बुद्धि अच्छी होती है ऐसा नहीं है. बुद्धि can be sattvic, can be rajasic and can be tamasic also. So a person having intellect, high level of intellect, it is not necessary that he is a good person. He may have tamasic buddhi also. And not all determination, dhruti, lead to liberation. You may have firmness, you may have conviction in yourself, but if conviction can be tamasic or rajasic, how can you get liberation? So the dhruti, determination, is of three types. The quality behind them, it matters. Buddhi, first, intellect. Buddhi is not merely intelligence or IQ. In Bhagavad Gita, it means faculty of discrimination. The power to decide what is right and what is wrong is buddhi. What should be done and what should be avoided is buddhi. What leads to freedom and what leads to bondage is buddhi, the faculty of discrimination. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna that intellect itself is influenced by three gunas. A person may be very, very clever, yet confused about the values. Another may have modest knowledge, but deep clarity. This difference arises because intellect operates under sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic influence in our life. Dhruti, the steadfastness or the willpower. Dhruti is the inner strength that enables a person to hold on to his intellectual thoughts, to persist, to remain firm in action and his belief. But Sri Krishna warns that persistence alone is not enough. A thief has the determination. So does a saint. The difference lies in what sustains that determination. A thief is also having a very determined mind. Is it good? The Sri Krishna teaches that even willpower is morally and spiritually colored by these three colors. Sattva, Rajatamo. So the threefold actions dividing the dividing gunas is these three gunas. Shri Krishna emphasizes that both dhruti and buddhi are trividam, threefold, based on gunas, which are fundamental forces of nature operating in our mind. Sattva leads to clarity, to harmony, and to wisdom. Rajasi leads to desire-driven action and restlessness, and tamas leads to confusion, negligence, and ignorance. By saying asheshena praktana completely and distinctly, Shri Krishna assures Arjuna that this knowledge will be explained clearly and without any ambiguity. The spiritual significance of this shloka is that this shloka teaches us a profound truth. Spiritually, the spiritual growth is not about suppressing intellect or willpower, but purifying them. Purifying your intellect, purifying your dhruti, determination is the message of this shloka. By recognizing which guna dominates our thinking, our buddhi, and our determination, our dhruti, we can consciously move towards sattvic buddhi and sattvic dhruti, which ultimately will lead us to liberation, to moksha. The practical reflection of this shloka is, let us do introspection. Do I clearly distinguish between duty and desire? If you put buddhi to work on this, then your buddhi is becoming sattvic. Do I clearly distinguish between duty and desire? What kind of goals am I determined to pursue? Dhruti, sattvic dhruti. Are my decisions guided by clarity, passion, or confusion? It will decide whether your buddhi and dhruti are rajasi, tamasi, or sattvic. So this shloka invites us to do have some self-examination, swadhyaya. Don't judge others, judge yourself first. This is the message of this shloka. Okay, next. Shlok 30. Pravrittinja nivrittincha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham mokshancha ya vetti buddhisa partha sattviki. This sattviki buddhi. Arjuna, that intellect is sattvic, which understands the path of action and path of renunciation. Path of renunciation, pravritti and nivritti. किसमें लगे रहना है और किससे कहां से विड्रॉ करना है. That is pravritti and nivritti. What ought to be done and what ought not to be done. Fear and restlessness, bondage and liberation. So in this way, Shri Krishna is systematically explaining the threefold division of intellect, buddhi, determination now. According to three gunas, sattva, rajo, tamo, this shloka describes the nature of sattvic intellect, sattvic buddhi, which is highest and most refined form of buddhi, understanding. A sattvic intellect is marked by clarity, by discrimination, and by wisdom. It does not merely possess information, but true insight into life, duty, and spiritual progress. Shri Krishna highlights 6 areas where this refined intellect functions correctly. First, it understands प्रवृत्ति एंड निवृत्ति, क्या करना चाहिए और क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. The path of engagement, path of withdrawal. Pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti refers to the righteous actions performed in accordance with one's duty, dharma, while nivritti refers to renunciation of actions that bind the soul. A sattvic person knows when to act and when to refrain. किसमें प्रवृत्त होना है और कहां से निवृत्त होना है. Recognizing that both action and renunciation, pravritti and nivritti, have the rightful place in spiritual life. Secondly, it clearly distinguishes between karya and akarya. What should be done and what should not be done. Karya, karya, bhaya. So karya and akarya. This understanding is not based on personal convenience or fear or on social pressure, but on ethical principles and on inner consciousness guided by wisdom. Such a person does not justify wrong actions or avoid rightful duties. Karya, akarya. Third sattvic intellect understands is bhaya and abhay, fear and fearlessness, bhaya and abhay. It recognizes that fear arises from ego, from attachment, and from ignorance, while fearlessness comes from alignment with the truth and surrender to the divine order. A person with sattvic understanding fears wrongdoing, but remains fearless in the performance of righteous duty. Fourth, it comprehends bandha and moksha. What is bandha and what is moksha? What action will put me under bondage and what action will lead me to the moksha? He understands it. This is sattvic buddhi. Bondage and liberation. Bondage is seen as identification with body, with ego, with desires, and the fruits of action. So any karma when we are doing, considering that I am the body, with ego, with some desires in my mind, and with my sights on the fruits of action, know that you are putting yourself under bondage, bandha. Liberation is understood as freedom from this identification through knowledge, jnana, through detachment, and through devotion. Importantly, a sattvic intellect realizes that liberation is an inner state, not merely physical withdrawal from the world. Liberation does not mean give up all the work or retire from the world. Shri Krishna's emphasis is very profound here. True intelligence is moral and spiritual discrimination. That is true intelligence. It is not cleverness, scholarship, or strategic thinking alone. A highly educated person may still possess rajasic or tamasic intellect. If they are by desire, clouded by confusion, or clouded by ignorance about the spirituality. Otherwise, all doctorates and PhDs would have become spiritually advanced. Does it happen? An illiterate person may be more knowledgeable than them as far as spirituality is concerned. In practical life, this shloka teaches that growth, both worldly and spiritual, depends on the refining of our intellect. When mind is calm, pure, and selfless, the intellect naturally becomes sattvic. Such an intellect guides one steadily towards harmony, towards right action, towards inner peace, and ultimately moksha, liberation. So this shloka presents sattvic intellect as an inner compass of a spiritually awakened life, capable of leading through the complexities of action, renunciation, fear, and freedom from wisdom and balance. Next is या धर्मो धर्मंच कार्यांच कार्यमेव च अयथावत् प्रजानाति बुद्धिस्सा पार्थ राजसी. This is the Rajasi buddhi. Arjuna, that intellect, that buddhi, which wrongly understands dharma as adharma and adharma as dharma, and which is confused about what ought to be done and what ought not to be done is called Rajasic. So God is making very profound analysis of human psychology through the lens of these three gunas, Satpa, Rajo, Tamo. This slok focuses on Rajasic Buddhi. The Rajasic intellect is determined by restlessness, desire, ego, and personal gains. Buddhi is the faculty of discrimination, as we discussed earlier. The inner compass that helps us decide what is right direction and what is wrong direction. Compass decides what direction. So, what is appropriate and what is inappropriate? What is moral and what is immoral? When this intellect is influenced by rajas, it becomes clouded by emotions such as ambition. Ambition will cloud your discriminatory power, your discriminatory intellect. Attachment, fear of loss, craving for pleasure or for recognition. These are the clouds that create Rajasic Buddhi in you. Shri Krishna states that Rajasic intellect misinterprets dharma and adharma. This does not necessarily mean that such a person is completely ignorant. He is not ignorant. He is clever. On the contrary, a Rajasic person can be intelligent, very skillful, and active also. However, their understanding is destroyed by self-interest. What benefits me appears right, and what obstructs my desires appears wrong for them. For example, a person may justify lying, cheating, harming. If it brings success to him, he will justify all these three. If it brings him power or comfort, he will justify all this. They may call it smartness. क्या स्मार्ट आदमी है? अरे झूठ बोलना स्मार्टनेस है क्या? चीटिंग स्मार्टनेस है क्या? हार्मिंग अदर्स इज स्मार्टनेस और व्हाट? और दे मे कॉल इट प्रैक्टिकल थिंकिंग. ये आदमी बहुत प्रैक्टिकल है. In reality, this is Rajasic Buddhi, where ethics bend under pressure of desire. So Rajasic Buddhi people are expert in bending their ethics to serve their desires. Shri Krishna also points out confusion between karya, what should be done, and akarya, what should not be done. A Rajasic intellect may know moral principles theoretically, yet fail to apply them when personal gain is involved. गीता पढ़ ली, क्या अच्छा है, क्या बुरा है, क्या करना नहीं करना है, समझ में आ गया. But when it comes to personal gains, all the knowledge goes out of window. Personal gain stands first. That is Rajasic Buddhi. Such a person often says, everyone does it. I had no choice. In today's world, it is necessary to act like this. These justifications arise because Rajas is driven by urgency and outcome. No long-term thinking. No inner righteousness. Decisions are made quickly, emotionally, and often without long-term reflections. The mind is always calculating rewards versus loss, status versus shame. Another key feature of Rajasic Buddhi is inconsistency. What is considered right today may be considered wrong tomorrow. No consistency. Depending on circumstances. Ethics become flexible, situational, and negotiable. Can ethics be negotiable? But Rajasic Buddhi does it. This leads to inner conflict, anxiety, and dissatisfaction because actions are not aligned with conscious. They're aligned with what will I gain. Shri Krishna's teaching here is not meant to condemn, but to create awareness. क्या कर रहे हो भाई? Most human beings function largely in rajas, especially in competitive environments, like in competitive environments like say business, or by in job also, or in politics, or even in family life sometimes. Recognizing rajasic tendencies is the first step towards transformation. When we introspect ourselves and find ourselves to be rajasic, it is the first step towards transformation. By cultivating selflessness, reflection, patience, and devotion, Rajasic Buddhi can gradually evolve into Sattvic Buddhi. where decisions are guided by clarity, by duty, and by universal good rather than by personal desire. So this shloka serves as a mirror to us, inviting us to examine whether our understanding of right and wrong is shaped by truth or by what we want at the moment. Is it decided by our desire or whether it is decided by the truth, what is right and what is wrong? Now what is tamasi buddhi? Next shloka 32. अधर्मं धर्ममिति मन्यते तमसा वृता सर्वार्थान् विपरीतांश्च बुद्धिस्सा पार्थ तामसी. That intellect Partha, which is clouded by ignorance, which mistakes adharma as for dharma and sees everything in a distorted way, is said to be tamasic. That buddhi is tamasic. So Lord Krishna completes his detailed explanation of human nature by classifying intellect buddhi and determination according to three gunas, sattva, rajo, tamo. In this shloka, he describes the tamasic intellect, the lowest and most harmful form of understanding. The tamasic intellect is one that is covered by ignorance, avidya. Such an intellect lacks clarity, it lacks discrimination and wisdom. Instead of seeing reality as it is, it views life through confusion, through fear, through prejudice, through laziness, and through delusion. The most dangerous feature of tamasic intellect, as Shri Krishna points out, is that it mistakes adharma, wrong action, for dharma, right action. जो गलत है उसको सही मानना, जो सही है उसको गलत मानना. That is tamasic buddhi. Buddhissa partha tamasi. This means a person with tamasic understanding may justify immoral actions. He may justify cruelty. He may justify violence. He may justify dishonesty or addiction as acceptable or even necessary. At the same time, they may reject discipline, compassion, self-control, or spiritual effort as useless or as foolishness. Their moral compass is reversed. What is right, they think that is wrong. What is wrong, they think that is right. Shri Krishna also says that such an intellect sees everything in a perverted way. This distortion affects all areas of life, relationships, work, spirituality, and decision making. A tamasic person may blame others for their failures, refuse responsibility, and live in denial all the time. They often act impulsively or mechanically, without reflection or without foresight. Another key quality of tamasic intellect is inertia. Such people resist change, self-improvement, and learning. They never want to learn. They may cling to harmful habits, to outdated beliefs, or to blind superstitions. Even when suffering is clearly caused by their own actions, they fail to recognize it, that my own karma is harming me. Spiritually, tamasic intellect keeps a person far from liberation. How can he get liberation with this tamasic buddhi? Impossible, no? Because they cannot distinguish truth from falsehood. They neither seek self-knowledge nor understand the purpose of life. Their actions create bondage rather than freedom, leading to repeated sorrows. Importantly, Sri Krishna does not condemn that person per se, he diagnoses the condition of that person. The Gita teaches us that no one is permanently tamasic. Through right association, through disciplined action and self-reflection, and by spiritual practice, one can rise from tamas to rajas and rajas to sattvic. That is the purpose of our understanding Gita. To rise above these tamasic tendencies, to rise above rajasic tendencies, to become a sattva guni, and ultimately become gunatit. So this shloka serves as a warning to us. It presents a mirror in front of us. It invites us to examine our own thinking. Do we justify wrong actions? Do we avoid responsibility and self-correction? Or do we resist wisdom and effort? If so, tamas may be influencing our intellect. Be careful. This shloka reminds us that true progress begins with right understanding. To purify our intellect, is to move closer to clarity, to move closer to righteousness, to move closer to freedom. So if we compare these three shlokas, 30, 31 and 32, Sattvic Buddhi, Rajasic Buddhi and Tamasic Buddhi, these three shlokas Krishna explains how human intellect Buddhi functions under the influence of three gunas, Sat, Raja, Tamo. Intellect is the faculty that decides what is right, what is wrong, what should be done, what should be avoided. The quality of one's intellect determines the quality of one's life. Shlok 30 taught us about Sattvic intellect. Sattvic intellect is pure, clear, and luminous. Such an intellect correctly understands dharma and adharma, duty and non-duty, fear and fearlessness, bondage and liberation. A person with Sattvic intellect, he sees things as they truly are, makes decisions guided by wisdom and by conscience. Understands the true freedom lies in self-discipline and in detachment. Acts with awareness of long-term consequences of his karma. This intellect is steady, is balanced and guided by higher values. It promotes harmony, it promotes peace and spiritual growth. The Sattvic intellect leads one towards liberation, towards moksha, because it aligns with the ultimate truth. While Rajasic intellect we studied in Shlok 31st was the Rajasic intellect is active but restless. It has some understanding of right and wrong, but that understanding gets distorted, clouded by desire, by ego, by personal gain. A person with Rajasic intellect knows what is right, but chooses based on convenience or based on his self-profit. Mixes dharma and adharma according to self-interest. Acts under the influence of ambition, attachment and reward. Is driven by success, by recognition and by results. The Rajasic intellect leads to constant agitation and dissatisfaction. Even when actions are morally acceptable, they are motivated by ego or by desire, which creates bondage. Such an intellect binds a person to action and reaction. While in 32nd sloka we studied tamasic intellect, a tamasic intellect is clouded by ignorance and by delusion. It completely misunderstands the reality, mistaking dharma as adharma and adharma as dharma. A person with tamasic intellect, he justifies wrongdoing as right. He rejects discipline, efforts, and moral responsibility. He acts out of laziness, out of fear, out of addiction, or blind belief. He lives in denial and in confusion all the time. This intellect leads to self-destruction and to suffering. It prevents learning, repentance, and transformation. Tamasic intellect keeps one bound in ignorance and in misery. So the key teaching of these three shlokas, Sattva, Tamo, Buddhi, is intellect is not the same in all people. It depends on their inner quality. The Gita does not judge but teaches self-awareness. By recognizing our dominant guna, we can consciously uplift ourselves from tamas to rajas and from rajas to sattvic. The journey of life is ultimately the journey of refining one's intellect. That is the journey of life. जहां हम खड़े हैं उससे थोड़ा अच्छा करें. That is the journey of life. So these three shlokas what we studied, sattvic intellect. Characteristics are clear, wise, morally upright, understand dharma correctly, acts with long-term vision. What are the examples in our real life, day-to-day life? A teacher, for example, who refuses to accept bribes to pass students. They know it's wrong to compromise integrity, even if it costs them extra efforts. Or a doctor who provides treatment to the poor at minimal cost, seeing it as their duty, not for fame or for profit. The key idea, sattvic intellect makes decisions guided by truth, by ethics, and by compassion. Actions are morally correct and spiritually uplifting. Rajasic examples are a business person who donates to charity to gain public recognition or to get tax benefits, rather than purely for the welfare of others. An employee who works diligently but primarily to earn a promotion or recognition or increment or for the love of their work, or for helping others. Key idea: Rajasic intellect is active and capable, but driven by ego, by desire, and by attachment. While Tamasic, a student who cheats in the exam and blames the system for their failure, thinking dishonesty is justified, is Tamasic. A person addicted to alcohol or to gambling, who blames others for their loss instead of taking responsibility, Tamasic. Key idea: Tamasic intellect distorts the reality. Decisions are harmful to self and to others, often creating repeated sufferings. Such people remain trapped in ignorance unless they consciously strive to change. So the lessons from these three shlokas, these shlokas 30, 31, 32, they teach us that the quality of our thinking shapes our destiny. A sattvic mind leads to freedom and respect. A rajasic mind may succeed materially but remains restless, while a tamasic mind causes suffering and confusion. By observing our own decisions and our own motives in life, we can gradually shift from tamas to rajas to sattvic, moving closer to clarity, dharma, and peace. Next, 33rd. तृतीयया धारयते मनः प्राणेन्द्रियक्रियाः योगेन व्यभिचारिण्या धृतिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी. Arjuna, that firmness, that steadiness of mind by which the mind, life force, and activities of senses are sustained through yoga, remaining steady and unwavering, is of the nature of sattva. So in this shloka, Shri Krishna Bhagavan elaborates on the nature of firmness, dhruti, and how it can be classified according to three gunas, sat, parjatamo. This particular shloka describes sattvic firmness, sattvic dhruti, which is considered the highest and most virtuous of all the three dhrutis. Firmness of the mind. The mind is like a restless river, constantly flowing with thoughts, emotions, and with desires. True dhruti is the ability to anchor the mind steadily without wavering, especially in the face of distractions or temptations. Sattvic firmness stabilizes the mind without being harsh or without being rigid. Second is prana and the senses. Not only does dhruti stabilizes the mind, it also regulates the prana, the life force, and the indriyas, the senses. A person with sattvic firmness, sattvic dhruti, does not allow desires or sensory impulses to dominate them. For example, they may see delicious food or hear enticing gossip, yet they remain balanced and undisturbed. Yoga as the means. Sri Krishna emphasizes that this type of firmness is achieved through yoga. Yoga means discipline. Steady practice of self-control is yoga. Meditation is yoga. Mindfulness is yoga. And devotion is yoga. Without such practice, firmness may be temporary, wavering, or easily disturbed. When you follow these sadhanas, these tools, your dhruti can become sattvic dhruti. An unwavering nature of vyabhicharana. Sattvic firmness is unyielding but calm. It does not fluctuate with circumstances or with desires or with emotional disturbances. Unlike rajasic firmness, which may be driven by ambition or by agitation, the tamasic firmness, which may be born out of stubbornnness or ignorance, the sattvic firmness, sattvic dhruti, is governed by wisdom, by clarity, and by dharma. What are the practical implications of this shloka? Decision making in our life. A sattvic person maintains clarity in his thoughts. He acts wisely, not impulsively, resisting temptations. They can resist short-term pleasures that conflict with the long-term values. Spiritual growth. Sattvic firmness stabilizes meditation, devotion, and making spiritual progress steady. And emotional balance, by maintaining balance in mind, body, and senses, one becomes compassionate, patient, and resilient in all adversities as well. So the summary is this shloka teaches us true strength is not just physical or rigid resistance, but the steady, unwavering control of mind, prana, and senses through disciplined spiritual practices through yoga. This forms of firmness is called sattvic firmness, sattvic dhriti, meaning it is pure, it is virtuous, it is aligned with dharma. It is the foundation for inner peace, wisdom, and effective action in life. Through yoga, a person can develop this steadfastness, sattvic dhriti, ensuring that their actions, their thoughts, and their energies remain balanced and purposeful. In short, sattvic firmness is equal to steady mind plus controlled senses plus disciplined practice. This is the formula. Sattvic firmness, sattvic dhriti is equal to steady mind plus controlled senses plus disciplined practice. This is the hallmark of spirituality for a mature individual. So, having discussed about the sattvic dhriti, now what is rajasi dhriti? या धर्म कामार्थान धृत्या धारे अर्जुन प्रसंगेन फलाकांक्षी धृतिस्सा पार्थ राजसी. Arjuna, those who engage in their duties and actions with eagerness, desire for results, and attachment to success, driven by the pursuits of material gain, worldly pleasures, or personal ambition, are said to be rajasic in nature. Their determination is firm but motivated by passion and by personal outcome, not by selfless duty. Here Sri Krishna differentiates types of determination dhriti according to three gunas, sattvic, rajasi and tamasi. Now this slok specifically highlights the rajasic determination, showing that those under rajasic act energetically but for personal gain or for recognition. And dhriti that supports this kind of intellectual thinking is the rajasic dhriti. Rather than welfare of the society or adherence to the dharma alone. So philosophical and practical implications of this motivation matters for those people. Rajasic people act with intensity and with courage, but their motivation is often self-centered. This shloka reminds us that action aligned with personal gain is a key marker of Rajasic mind. Energetic but attached. Their determination is real, strong, and enduring also, but conditional, because it relies on achieving the desired results, desired outcome. And contrast with sattva. Sattvic action is steadfast without craving for reward. Rajasic action, it seeks rewards. Dhriti supports that. That is Rajasic Dhriti. Understanding this distinction is vital in spiritual practice and human behavior insight. Most people fall under Rajasic category of their Dhriti in daily life because working hard for promotions, working hard for wealth or recognition. These actions can lead to stress, can lead to frustration, and can lead to bondage as they are tied to the results. Practical advice, awareness of Rajasic tendencies can help us one balance ambition with dharma, gradually moving towards sattvic action, sattvic dhriti, working diligently but without attachment to the fruits. Modern examples, a corporate manager, for example, striving to finish a project to get bonus is a Rajasic. Their energy, their planning, their focus are strong. Yes, agreed. But with the motivation, that becomes reward driven. Motivation is reward driven, not for a quality of work itself, but for ethical fulfillment. Contrast this with a volunteer teaching underprivileged children without expectation of reward, which could be sattvic. Now, what is tamasi dhriti? Shlok 35. Ya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madame vacha nimamanjide rameda dhatissa bharta tamasi. Arjuna, that fortitude, that dhriti by which a foolish person is unable to abandon sleep, swapnam, Fear, bhaya, shok, sorrow is born of darkness, tamasi. So this shloka, Shri Krishna explains the nature of fortitude, nature of dhriti, born out of tamas, born out of darkness. As a part of his discussion on the threefold divisions of qualities, sattva, rajas, tamo, this shloka falls within the larger context of where Shri Krishna Bhagavan analyzes how human qualities and actions are shaped by these three gunas of Prakriti. Here Shri Krishna uses the word durmedha, foolish or unintelligent person is durmedha, to indicate someone who lacks discriminative wisdom, buddhi. Unlike the spiritually wise, such a person is easily swayed away by sleep, by fear, or by sorrow. Their fortitude is weak, inconsistent, and ultimately unhelpful because it arises from inertia, from ignorance, rather than conscious understanding or from dharmic purpose. Sleep, God says swapnam. This is not ordinary rest, but it represents laziness, procrastination, delaying what you can do first, or indulgence in inactivity, which prevents the person from acting rightly. Fear, bhaya. Such fear is irrational, excessive, and rooted in ignorance of one's true self and duties. It immobilizes the mind rather than sorrow, shokam, uncontrolled grief and attachment. It leads to emotional instability, clouding judgment, and preventing progress. Shri Krishna warns that the fortitude, the dhruti of such a person is not genuine dhruti because it does not arise from conscious awareness, reflection, or alignment with dharma. Instead, it is a tamasic fortitude, one born out of darkness, out of laziness, out of ignorance, and out of delusion. The shloka emphasizes that tamas or darkness manifests in the human mind as inertia and attachment to comfort, resisting action when one's duty demands action, helplessness in the face of fear and sorrow, unable to face the challenges without being emotionally destabilized, lack of discrimination. Actions are guided by habit, by ignorance, or selfish avoidance rather than insight. Shri Krishna specifically addresses Arjuna here to teach a crucial principle. True courage and steadfastness must come from wisdom, buddhi, and understanding, not from ignorance. A person influenced by tamas may seem patient or calm, but this is passive and weak, not active and disciplined fortitude. This is not sattvic dhriti that leads to spiritual growth or successful action. In practical terms, this shloka teaches us that avoid tamasic habits such as excessive sleep, laziness, or emotional despair. Develop sattvic dhriti, which is stable, conscious, and aligned with dharma. Self-awareness and wisdom are necessary to overcome the fear and sorrow effectively. So this shloka warns us that dhriti arising from darkness is weak and counterproductive. True strength comes not from mere endurance or passivity, but from clarity, from courage, and alignment with one's higher purpose. Let us stop here. Now the forum is open for you to raise your questions. Thank you so much for.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for the beautiful vivachan and for explaining the Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic gun in such simplicity and relatable examples. Sadhaks, as a part of the Gita Jayanti Mahotsav, the Gita Olympiad is in full swing with engaging events and attractive prizes and is open to everyone completely free of cost. You can register on play.learngeeta.com. It's really addictive. And also, our 45th L1 batches had started on 30th of January. This is a beautiful opportunity to share the joy and wisdom of Gita ji that we are receiving with our friends and family in India and abroad. Registration is simple and open at joingita.com. With this, I request our sadhaks to raise hands and turn on their cameras to ask questions and seek clarifications from Bhaiya, and request those who is watching the session from the YouTube link to please join our Zoom link if you wish to clarify your doubts. I think
Okay,
there
since
are
there
no
are no
doubts.
doubts today, so let us
Beautifully.
continue with the conclusion.
I think there are no doubts, Bhaiya.
Okay, okay. So we can conclude with the ending prarthana and then Hanuman
Yeah.
Chalisa.
So we can go ahead towards the Samapan Pratna. We would like to thank you,
Didi,
Bhaiya,
Jai
and
Shri
thank
Krishna. Jai Shri
everyone.
Krishna Didi. There is Shravanti Didi. I have unmuted her.
Yeah, Jai Shri Krishna Bhaiya. Actually, for to attain the Sattvic Dhriti, you have told three things, right? Dedication. What is that, Bhaiya? I wanted to write it, but I have missed it. The 33 shloka. By
Yeah,
doing yoga and will be attaining more Sattvic Dhriti, right? Dhriti means determination, Bhaiya.
yeah. Dhruti is determination of your intellect. If you decide to do something, to stick to that stand is Dhruti. The firmness of your intellect is Dhruti.
Okay. So to have
So
more
Sattvic,
Sattvic Dhriti, the yoga and is a best.
that is a way to attain that Sattvic Dhruti.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
decision making, or your resisting temptations in materialistic life, or for your spiritual growth, or for your emotional balance. What you need to have is your Sattvic Dhruti. And God has said that it comes from firmness of the mind, prana and senses. Yoga is the means. So yoga is the means for all this.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Jai Shri Krishna.
If there are no more questions, we can go ahead towards the Samapan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for the beautiful Vivechan. And I would also take the opportunity to thank everyone who have gathered here and are enthusiastic to learn Bhagavad Gita ji. I would like to thank our tech star and our backup team who has hosted such a beautiful session for us. Our concluding prayer will be taken by Dr. Pradeep Desai, who is an international business management consultant based in Ahmedabad. He holds a PhD in disaster management and is a gold medalist in MBA from IIFT. He is actively involved in both business and education. Bhaiya has joined Gita Pariwar in September 2025 and is serving as a GC for L3. Bhaiya, kindly take the prayer.
जी जय श्री कृष्ण। परम
Jai
पूज्य
Krishna.
गुरु जी गोविंद देव गिरि जी महाराज के चरणों में प्रणाम करते हुए अभी हम समापन प्रार्थना रजू करता हूँ। योगेशम सच्चिदानंद वासुदेवम रजप्रियम धर्म संस्थापकम वीरं कृष्णं वंदे जगद्गुरु कृष्णं वंदे जगद्गुरु।
Jai Shri Krishna.
Thank you so much, Priya, for the divine prayer. Proceeding towards the end of the session, we will listen to Hanuman Chalisa.
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधारि बरन रघुबर बिमल जसु जो दायक फलचारि बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीसति लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन बरन विराज सुबेसा गानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ हाथ वज्र औ ध्वजा विराजय कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजय शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सिंहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर सहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही समभाई सहस बदन तुम रोजस गावै अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावै सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा जम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीना तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना जुग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर पल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुमरे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होतन आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज समारो आपै तीनों लोक हाकते कापै भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवै महावीर जब नाम सुनावै नासै रोग हरै सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावै मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावै सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा जिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावै सोई अमित जीवन फल पावै चारों जुग प्रताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नो निधि के दाता असबर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावै जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावै अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चित्तन धरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट कटई मिटई सब पीरा जो सुमिरई हनुमत बल बीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई जो सत बार पाठ कर गोई छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई जो यह पढ़ हनुमान चालीसा होय सिद्धि साखी गौरी सा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा की जय नाथ हृदय महडेरा पवन तनय संकट हरन मंगल मूर्ति रूप राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुर भूप सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय।
Looking forward to have you back in this lovely interacting session next week for the next part of chapter 18's Vivechan. Thank you, Jai Shri